I'm gonna go be a goblin. I'm gonna just go dig around in here for a second.
Hi, I'm Daryl, the founder of Yard Farmer, a sustainable landscape design studio helping homeowners switch to drought-tolerant native yards. For my local clients, we use in-person walkthroughs to nail down the design layout and overall direction. So here's a behind-the-scenes look at one of my projects in Salt Lake City, Utah. Hope you enjoy.
Okay. So your deck is fabulous. You've got the big open windows, then you come down the stairs and you've got the lawn, which has to be lawn because the dog sprints out.
Yeah, there's a lot of ball throwing that happens. So it's
perfect.
We tried to reduce the lawn, but we need a runway for exactly what just happened over there, which is the ball goes flying, the dog runs down, everyone's happy.
This is an amazing space that's super functional. The plantings around look amazing. I'd like to make this a peninsula rather than an island so you don't have to edge and mow in a full circle.
There's an evolution and a story to that little space, and it is continuing to evolve.
Storied history.
Recommendations are very much what I'm looking for.
Okay. So starting there, because I see a great lawn with some clover in it. I'm fine with this just being what it is. And then we don't love English ivy, but it's doing what it's doing. We've got Oregon grape, which we love. So then this is where things start, where you've got more question marks.
Yes, and this is where we get to the lower part of the yard, which is chaos, sort of. And is where I'm hoping to put garden beds and, privacy and more trees. And every time we start with a plan, we kind of stall out and never finish. And that's why I keep saying, I just need a plan.
Because one question leads to another, affects another decision. And
we don't really know the best choice sometimes, and then we just, throw up our hands.
Yeah.
I love what is it you called it, the food forest concept.
Yeah.
And because I'm trying to plant so many things in here that are edible and functional as opposed to just
rhubarb.
That is a giant rhubarb
My
plant,
rhubarb is also coming up, and Molly and I were looking at the weird little sprouts that were starting to unfurl today.
Yeah, and that's enormous. It's so big I have to transplant it.
When these open, they look so funny.
Yeah. So over here is where I started planting fruit trees.
Awesome.
For better or for worse, I hope these work out. There's a couple of pears, there's a couple of apples, there's a plum.
Great.
This is golden raspberries that have been doing really well. Like I said, just kind of tucked in.
They're thriving though.
And then, watch your step. This is really not
fair.
There's a very fat bumblebee.
Where?
That is so cute.
Behind me?
Yeah.
I saw my first fat bumblebee in my garden today too.
One of those like 2 inches.
I don't see a bumblebee. Love it. Okay, this fruit tree's thriving.
Yeah.
There he is. Yeah. Hey, baby.
This is a pink lady. So this is where
the chaos is starting.
Yeah, we actually cleared out, we had piles of stuff, and John, my husband, spent, a couple of weeks kind of slowly clearing it all out, saving things that we thought might be worth using in some fashion. But this is a snowball, but it's a
oh, cool.
It's not the
viburnum.
Yes.
Snowball viburnum.
Yes, exactly.
Gorgeous.
Yes.
Great. We've got more Oregon grape or Utah holly or whatever we call it. It's
happily
rose by any other name.
Happily blooming.
Very native. Look at all the bees that are obsessing over it. Very into it.
Yeah, and I've got 2 more apple trees here, both of which I realize are not in an optimal place, but I know that I've got a cold sink back here, so I was trying to avoid that.
Okay.
This fence, I'd already actually started, I'll be honest, thinking about the notion of some sort of, if I'm going to plant here for privacy, why not have it also be things we can eat? There's a little hazel over here.
Great.
Hazelnut that just one of the 2 from last year has lasted. So it's in this funny little spot, which at the time I thought was a good idea, and now I don't know. There's currants. You'll see there's really old grapevines along this fence.
I do see that, yeah.
And those are Concord grapes.
Okay, so they're producing.
Yes,
so you can make it over there. So we don't necessarily want to screen all of this because then it becomes completely inaccessible.
And that's part of the thing that I have had a hard time figuring out is how do I get the grapevines out of the tree and into someplace constructive and yet still have built-in privacy.
I'm gonna go be a goblin. I'm gonna just go dig around in here for a second.
Watch out.
Okay, more Oregon grape, volunteering. We could clear out the ivy. What's this guy?
Hawthorn.
Perfect.
It just happened.
Great.
I didn't even know what
Native
it was
tree.
for many years, and then it just got bigger and bigger, and then I finally figured it out.
Perfect. native tree. So we've got a hawthorn volunteer and then an Oregon grape, which is literally in the forest. This would be natural canopy, natural understory, just existing. So I kind of love that. What's this vine?
Virginia creeper.
Okay. I don't hate it as much as English ivy.
Yes.
Because English ivy is not native, Virginia creeper is. So we could clear out the English ivy and let the Virginia creeper just screen the wall. It'll just be greenery and lushness.
Yep.
So we're fine with that. Right in here is where you would want to harvest and access the grapes, but we also want privacy.
Yep.
So we need to let the grapes be the privacy. Look, they want to go up.
Yeah.
So what if we just set posts and wire and started training the grapes up?
Yeah.
So that way, instead of planting all of this lushness here, that's going to make it impossible to access the grapes. Posts and wire is the cheapest way. You could go for it, and there are, you know, those beautiful arbors that are like open on one side that would provide privacy up and then over as well. But it's really just a budget and preference thing at that point. At the end of the day, if we set some 4x4 posts and tightly wound wire between them, the grapes could get trained and just be a living screen.
No, I would love that, and that's what I wanted to do. I also love that idea because we get deer from the neighbor's yard.
Okay.
And if we could have a both visual and realistic, here's the little hawthorn that's right next to you.
Okay.
Excuse me, the hazel.
Sorry, I almost crushed the little hazel.
So this, I have to explain. We used to have a big old apple tree.
Yeah.
Right here. It was wonderful. It was also really old and not well taken care of by the time we moved here.
Though.
And then eventually, apparently, it died and fell over. I remain somewhat curious as to whether or not I can make use of the wood. I mean, I know there's plenty in here I need to just pull out and get rid of.
We're not getting a bobcat or something to move this.
Right.
So we would need to chainsaw. Something that is really top of mind would be, they're very cute stepping stones when you slice.
Oh, yeah.
And you have the wood. So through the food forest where you have straw down, we could level and set some edging down a little bit so that we could have, the name is ridiculous, but the official term is tree cookie. We could have the tree cookies in the path and then maybe do a ground cover around it.
Yeah,
and that way you could just bring a chainsaw in and start slicing it up.
Slicing cookies off?
Basically. Well, you'd probably want to do like smaller things, and then if you need help with the power tools, like my husband could bring the table saw over for the clean cuts.
Okay.
But this would need to start getting hacked up, basically, so that we could then make tree cookies out of it.
I'd love to like use it. And there are things in this yard that are just, I'm like, well, that just looks like future mulch.
Right.
And there are like old stepping stones from the prior owner that were never used that I found. And I'm like, well, I want to use them somewhere. I don't want to go buy new stuff.
I'm a big fan of repurposing wherever possible. Yeah, all the stones we can repurpose into cool edging. Like you said, this could be mulch, but with some of these larger ones, they're really cool, depends how brittle they are, but really cool woven landscape edges you can do.
Yeah.
With hazel branches is very popular for that. You can grow willow, that's very popular. I think actually the viburnum is a wonderful for wattle fencing.
Well, I need to prune that back anyways.
Viburnum works for wattling, and it's better when they're green so that you can get the bend in it. So if you are going to prune this, it doesn't need to be a 4-foot fence. You could do landscape edging that's only this high. And maybe we find somebody who could come in. I know you're a busy person, and it's not like just weaving fences in your free time. It's
let's call it meditative.
Meditative.
I do garden to calm down and meditate and just find happiness. So, you know, which is why we're, you know, kind of still keen on doing some of this ourselves, just because I enjoy it.
Yeah. Great.
And then I will say, like, here, I would love to have garden boxes finally again. I used to have them spread throughout the yard, and that didn't work with the dog and the kids. But I want to grow food again.
Okay. So what are we thinking for the surfacing that your garden boxes
That is where I have no idea. And I'll tell you one last thing. We're going to get rid of this.
Okay.
You get the before, the really
play place
gross
is
old,
going?
Yeah,
Okay.
it is no longer being used.
Okay.
It is off into the world.
Okay. What about the coop?
The coop, yes, we will continue to use.
Okay.
We're going to get more chickens this spring because I love having them around in the yard, and they're
free ranging them.
Yes.
So something we could do, because they're, so you want to keep them out of your vegetable boxes.
I know.
So we could do, if this is going to go, we could do an extended walk-in run. And I would love to see the compost move into the walk-in run, because chickens turn your compost for you.
That's a good idea.
So we would want it to be walk-in, so same height as over here.
Yeah.
But if we could build that out so that, you know, the door opens, wheelbarrow goes in, garden scraps go into the compost, the The chickens do the work of turning it for you.
Yep.
And then whenever you're ready for garden soil, you just go. Also, chicken bedding.
Yes.
Manure plus straw equals perfect compost, 50-50 carbon to nitrogen.
There is some in there.
Yeah.
They were with us until winter. And then we were using the bedding and all of that as we cleaned out periodically. And we kind of want to do a reset on the coop. Obviously, I need a new floor and things. So, you know, we figured we'd take a break and come up with this grand plan.
Come up with a grand plan. I think this would be a great use of this space to just pull the run. And the more run space they have, then when you want to keep them out of the garden, they can still be fulfilled and happy.
Yeah, exactly.
There. And there's all sorts of fun things you can do where you plant things on the edge of the run that they can reach out and kind of eat.
I love that. I love when the coop actually is surrounded by things that we also want to look at.
That they can enjoy. You could use a bat box. Bats eat bugs.
Oh, awesome.
They eat the bad ones.
Yes, we would love to. Do they eat mosquitoes?
Yes. Literally a single bat eats like 1,000 per evening, and there's like 100 bats in this little mailbox, like bat box.
Oh, cool.
And like somewhere like up on the back of that house would be a perfect spot.
Yeah.
It needs to be pretty high is the only thing. You need to set them pretty high up. So the house, the chimney, something like that would be good.
Yeah, we could do it up there.
They look like a mailbox, like a little letter box is what they look like.
That'd be so cool.
And they're amazing. They eat grasshoppers, all the garden pests, squash bugs. We like bats. If we're thinking layout planning, we're thinking coop here, then we could do like a gorgeous chicken safe perennial border next to it that the chickens won't have full access to, but they'll reach through the wire to get a little something as they want, treats. They won't be able to get much because they're little beaks in the wire, but they'll nip the edges of it, certainly. Then this part needs to stay lawn because this is the primary fetch.
Lawn or some variation on lawn. Honestly,
I don't hate this at all.
Yeah, the clover.
Is the mowing a problem with the hill? Okay.
No. I mean, the biggest challenge we've had with this is that it has not been very healthy over the years. So I've thrown down wildflower seed. I've given up. I'm not quite sure why there's any grass right now.
It's thriving right now. The clover. I mean, we had a great
the chickens that used to, you know, hang out in the yard.
Yeah.
And the clover is very much an accident of. I think my son spread the seeds once. I was going to use them as a cover crop, and
then they. Listen, this is a really biodiverse, resilient mix. You've got a really high energy dog that's going to be tearing this up. So something we could just keep doing is keep overseeding it with an eco lawn blend, a clover fescue yarrow mix that'll add the drought tolerance in. The chickens won't be free ranging during garden season, but right now would be prime chicken time because they'd be scratching and fertilizing and aerating your lawn for you. And then as soon as the tomatoes go in, the chickens go into the run for the rest of the season.
I build little fences for my tomatoes because I do really enjoy the chickens running through the yard.
And this is cute because I like gardens to be kind of a place, but you need a fence around all your garden boxes if you're going to let the chickens free range during garden season.
I know.
It's spring or fall or that kind of time is great to let the chickens free range, and they'll get into your garden and they'll till everything up and they'll eat hibernating squash bugs and stuff. So we love that. But as soon as those tender plants go in, the chickens have to leave. So, but you could do a really cute little picket fence around your garden boxes.
That might be a good idea, and that might be something where I could use some suggestions because, you know, I do love having a flow, but on the other hand, I just need a couple of designated spaces.
You can still flow, it's just you're gonna be entering a room and then exiting a room.
Yeah.
So if you imagine a flow like this beautiful lawn area that descends here so that you have that extended fetch, then the chickens and the perennials here, you would flow in, and I'd say if we're gonna do a cute picket fence, like let's go for it. Picket fence, arbor, some things climbing up over it.
Yes.
Then you let yourself into the garden, shut the little gate behind you, garden box, garden box, garden box, garden box, garden box, walk through. There's gonna be another gate here. And then you let yourself up into the food forest area this direction. So the chickens can free range in a food forest, that's fine. Ducks are nicer, but chickens still work. But for the little baby tender annual plants, they're gone if you let the chickens in there. Hi, go get it. This is already great. I mean, it's already kind of cleared out. We could just level this, and then honestly, I would do just like a wood mulch, like a bark.
That was very much going to be one of my questions. We've really struggled with it back here. We do have so many weed issues out here. I mean, the stuff that comes up is so frustrating, and I would love to just...
Are these cone flowers?
Big yellow...
Like black-eyed Susans?
No, like the really tall, feathery yellow ones in the summertime.
Cool.
Yeah, they're okay. They're not what I want there. And obviously, if I'm going to have boxes in here, I'd rather just have.
Yeah.
I mean,
these will divide so easy. These are so fun because you could literally take a shovel and do like a Mortal Kombat finishing move on this and then replant it somewhere else, and you'll get 3 flowering plants out of it. Yeah. So these can all go. If you have weeds that are constantly coming up, obviously they'll continue to come up in your mulch. We could try to do stepping stones and a ground cover in there. That helps compete out weeds. You've got full sun here. Buffalo grass might be too invasive. It would come up in the vegetable boxes themselves. Creeping time is kind of expensive because you have to buy all the starts. There's like pluses and minuses for all of these. Oh, I'm sorry, I made you go face first into a rake. I apologize.
It is still just chaos back here. He's fine. He's used to it.
Let me think about ground cover.
Like I mean, I'm inclined, if it makes sense, to just put down a heavy level of chips and some stepping stones and then just try to handle the weeds as they come up, because, you know, at least this first year, we've tried so many different things with this that
I think my gut instinct, just with the aesthetics of the place, I think it would look really great with just a nice, like rustic bark mulch, like not little fine wood chips. Okay. Like some nice fat bark with stepping stones in it. Hand weed for now, and then over time, as that bark starts to break down into soil, if we want to try overseeding a ground cover, we could do a fescue clover mix, fescue being a no-mow lawn product, so it's okay to, you don't have to go in there and mow it. But we would want to make a plan for watering it. The good news is if we can get drip irrigation to your veggie boxes, then we could also just kind of run some.
Yeah, right now we've still got the old school, just
the sprinkler right there.
The 1950s posts.
Okay. I mean, that's fine because we could cap this and just tie drip straight into it.
Yeah.
So that's easy.
Yeah.
And then we could run soaker hoses. So drip for the veggie boxes, soaker for the ground cover irrigation. And this is just down the line. Let's start with bark now because we can overseed fescue and clover into that with a little topsoil years from now if you just get a little sick of hand weeding and want to try something new. Yeah. But if that happens, I would say let's get some soaker hoses down on either side of the stepping stone so that we can actually irrigate the fescue and the clover. So then the compost will go into the walk-in chicken run because that makes cleaning out the chicken coop super easy, makes turning the compost a no-brainer. That also frees up this space to just be, again, if we have the picket fence, snowball viburnum, gorgeous perennials in front of it, just it's a border for your garden. Yeah.
Or more fruit trees. Okay. I want a cherry. I want, which I know is not, like, you know.
No, go for it.
I'm conflicted over what to plant, and because I really do love the thought of more fruit trees and just more in general. I've got blackberries over there and raspberries, and I would love to incorporate more of that.
I think you could do 2 more dwarf habit trees right here. This wouldn't shade out the garden because the sun's going that way anyway. So 2 more trees here would be great. This soil's gonna be bitchin'. It's gonna be fabulous because the compost has been living here. Cherry sounds great. The thing with cherry in Utah is you do need to treat it.
Yeah,
because it gets the pests.
This whole backyard has been spray-free and pesticide-free for a long time, and I don't want to get away from that.
Sorry, Rachel. I'm so sorry. Yeah. Apologize. What about serviceberry or 2?
Yes, so I have 1 planted way out front, and that's the sort of thing that I would love recommendations on, particularly for, like, I look at this area down here, and I'm like, I need something to block the neighbor. Not that I don't love her.
The grapes are gonna.
Yeah, but then they go away in the wintertime, and like there's certain spots where I wouldn't mind in this corner just having more of just sort of interesting plants.
So they go away in the winter, so you're saying you want evergreen screening?
Some.
Okay. Let's think about the most key sightlines we need to block. We may need to think a little more in 3D. I love deciduous things on the west, evergreen things on the west. It's just, to me, you're blocking all that warm, low-angle winter sun. And then you've got snow sticking around for longer, ice sticking around for longer. We could maybe plant 1, like, kind of spruce tree. But if we think more in 3D, what are we trying to, where are you when you want the neighbor to be blocked?
Up on the porch. Yeah. And to me, the block is not so much that I don't want to be able to see her at all. Like, she's lovely. But it's just more of a, she sees all of the chaos in our yard. We see, you know, like, nothing but fencing. I don't want to block the sun that's so wonderful for this. This just struck struck me as an area where, gosh, if I wanted to plant service berries, and we've got an elderberry, and
which are all deciduous, but lovely.
Right. At least it's a visual distraction. If there are a few things in here that are a good idea to have for year-round cover, you know, maybe it's just more Oregon grape. I don't know.
Yeah, Oregon grape is great because it's semi-evergreen, so you do get more of the leaf cover. You're gonna have these grapes growing up real tall, and if we're making this whole area kind of food forest adjacent, then elderberry is a great mid-tier. We could do all the like native berries, currant gooseberry, huckleberry, and stuff understory. You could have a couple of serviceberry trees. They don't need to be right up on the grapes.
Yeah.
Because I want you to be able to access the grapes. And if there's a serviceberry tree that branches are extending past there, then you're not going to have that access.
Yeah.
But if the serviceberry tree's here, you can go around it. We're just thinking more three-dimensionally as far as the placement.
Yeah.
And then the same thing goes for anywhere between the deck and here, we can strategically layer things that will create privacy screening without having to be like a wall of cypress trees or something, like a lawn.
Yeah, I'd rather it felt natural and just sort of...
Don't pet me, please play fetch.
I know. I know. We've obviously got some old trees that we tried to cut down that have come back up, and we'd have to...
Those are tree of heavens, aren't they? Yeah.
Some of them are. One of them's a cottonwood, and then one of them's, oh, I don't know, another trash tree.
Trees of heaven. Yeah, I see an elm, and then I see the trees of heaven are those spindly ones.
Yep.
And if you cut them, more will come.
I know.
Yeah, my neighbor
So
cut theirs down, which I was happy about, except there's literally 8 Tree of Heaven volunteers in my asparagus bed right now. And I've got all this gorgeous soil for these trees of heaven to be in. Yeah. Just thinking about layouts before we get into individual plant ideas, how are you feeling about chickens, lawn, fenced garden? The fenced garden will have perennial flowers both on either side of the picket fence for all of that cottagey gorgeousness. Food forest in layers, but really thinking about still allowing you to access the grapes.
Yeah.
So maybe we trellis the grapes up and then put little tree cookie steppers right along the grapes, and then we plant another layer.
I think having, you know, like coming in and having, a, you know, sort of plantings along here totally makes sense to me. Much to my chagrin, we used to have a grapevine down there, and I think the other side of the fence cut it away.
Oh.
So I think this whole area this year needs to be rethought in my mind, because it did have, it had a white Niagara, and I don't think that's going to survive what the damage that was done.
Okay.
But this has always struck me as a corner where it's like just you know, like,
layer.
Like one tall evergreen, I don't know, you know, when I stand up at the house and I look down at the yard, I've always sort of wanted just something in the corners, to sort of help pull the eye out. And, but I don't know.
So below the power line height, let's do mid-tier, just some cool corners, layered evergreen screening. Again, Southwest is not my favorite place to put evergreens, but it's just gonna be, if you think about those being there, directly northeast of the Southwest thing is just lawn. So I'm like, okay, there'll be more snow on the lawn for longer, but whatever.
I don't need anything big.
Yeah.
It truly is just a little bit of darkness in this corner scene.
So if we layered, you've already got an elderberry, and is this a black lace elderberry? Yeah. Great. So right behind that, between the Oregon grape and the black lace elderberry, we could put a fat Albert blue spruce. That's like a baby blue, but a baby blue will still get 20 feet tall. Fat Albert gets like 10. Yeah. So that's gonna be like this tall.
Yeah.
I think they might even get up to 15, but I think 15 is the perfect height. We want it to come up higher than this elderberry in the back.
Yeah.
So right in there, if we could put that spruce, and then we think about it like layering spruce, dark purple elderberry, maybe like a little dwarf weeping cedar or something down here, and then like a globe blue spruce, and then like a deer grass that's super soft next to the super tough blue spruce. So there's just like green and purple and dark and soft and hard. I think 15 feet is as tall as we want to go with evergreen.
Yeah. And I'm okay with that. And I think I'm realizing part of the reason that I want something there is that there used to be several very large evergreens in my neighbor's yard here. And when we had, I don't know if you remember, like the year of the pandemic plus earthquake plus windstorm. The windstorm came down from the mountains and really literally blew down all of her evergreens. And I realized I missed that feeling. It created this sense of privacy and you know,
and intimacy,
seclusion that I miss.
Yeah.
In the summer, I can't see the valley anyways through those trees. And so the thought of a smaller, cozier version of that seems appealing still.
Yeah, it's true. And it'll be more aesthetically pleasing than just these amalgamations of volunteer trees.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like it. I think once we let these grapes and stuff grow up, and we could plant more edible vines where the Virginia creeper is to just continue screening the chain link and just going
I would
for
love to take all of this and turn it into, you know, whatever grows well that produces fruit. Traditional or non-traditional, you know, edibles are perfect for me. I'm actually going to look over here to see if this grape is even. I think that the only thing that's alive over here right now is the Virginia creeper. The grapes are not.
You think all the grape is gone?
I think she.
Oh, I see. They've been literally sawed off.
Yeah. So it was a white Niagara. If it wasn't in my yard, I have no say.
It wasn't planted in your yard? It was?
Apparently not.
So that was the only grape. There's not another grape?
No. This was a white Niagara down here.
Okay.
There are, I think, at least 2 Concords up there. And there's another one over there, and then my neighbor has some as well. Okay. So this is still a very grape happy place.
Okay.
It's just this part.
Let's still set the post, because obviously past the elderberry and spruce, it's going to be hard to access stuff back there anyway. Yeah. So it would be hard to get into that Niagara. So if we set the post here, we can plant a couple more grapes in there.
Right in here where the tree fell, I don't think there's any grapes, so it would be great to plant something there.
Again, it's a preference and budget thing. A big bumblebee.
With an orange bottom.
Yeah, the wire will do just fine. But if we could, I'm picturing like a cedar picket fence, and then I would love to see that fence terminate into a post that just became that like arbor. You know what I mean though? Where it's like basically half a tunnel.
Yeah.
Like massive.
Yeah.
And that also gives you so much privacy. It doesn't even have to be that tall, because it goes up and then over. So if you imagine the sight lines being blocked this way and this way, it doesn't even have to be 20 feet tall to give you the privacy. Neat. And then you can be harvesting grapes like this. Yeah. Cedar is expensive, but it would look amazing. And then you could just tie that cedar fence post right into it, and then it would just and be like the back side of that fence. Yep. And that would be really solid deer proof.
Yeah, I like
massive fencing.
I like it, yeah. And then if we put something down here that's big and intimidating. The
spruce and the elderberry.
Hopefully that will stop the deer on that side, because that is that's the challenge here.
Yeah, so we'd want that post, I mean, wherever the garden starts, so probably right in here is where we'd set the post, and then this would all be arbor. And then over here, instead of trying to grow more grape this direction, we could just plant more, like you could have a serviceberry tree right there. Yeah. That's perfect.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
That is another aspect of this, is that this little spot is kind of shady. That's why the elderberry's happy.
Yeah, because you get all the sun during the day, and then you're protected from the worst sun. It's also going to make gardening more pleasant for you in the evenings. Okay, great. Garden, and then we'll wander back up through another little edible nook.
Yep.
So I think the biggest thing for you to feel like the visual progress, because you know, you've been fighting and working and just trying to make headway, and it just doesn't feel like anything's going. I think it's going to be really creating the definition of spaces with landscape edging.
Okay.
In its simplest form, we could just get some nice flat or flexible steel landscape edging that's a couple inches tall. But we need these spaces to feel intentional as we move from one to another. And if we don't want to do steel, I mean, I would love to see some of this recycled brick, recycled pavers, but you could also get the steel down first and then stack a gorgeous little dry stack stone thing in front of that later. We need it to feel like I'm stepping from the lawn, perennial flower bed with edging, cedar fence, flower bed with edging, mulch. And that's what's gonna make it feel like, even though we're using super natural materials and everything's gonna grow up super wild and lush, the edging still has to be there, or it's never gonna look like it's finished.
Okay.
You could do the fancy corten if you want, like where it patinas to rust. Fancy. Just literally 2-inch high steel landscape edging that you and it's in.
Okay.
But just that, and remember, grass is growing up on one side, thick bark mulch on the other. This is very subtle, but it's wild how the brain suddenly is like, I understand what's supposed to be here and here as soon as that line is down. And everything's kind of blending together, and different things are volunteering, and it's just not quite giving you that sense of completion yet. Literally the day the edging goes in, your brain's gonna be like, I get it, I know where everything's supposed to go. It's wild, it's like the lines in the coloring book. It is. It's the lines in the coloring book. Trademark that. I just came up with that.
Yes.
Cool. This is great. Hi, friend.
That's enough, Beckett. No more.
So I'd love to see the tree cookies through here too. I think you might just end up needing to maybe do like one little step down to create like maybe 2 terraces. Nothing like fancy terracing, but just level, maybe a fat piece of steel edging to like kind of hold that part up, and then level, just so that you can place those wood stepping stones and not have them
slide down,
slide and wobble. And
oh, I see. Okay. So just, I was like, why not just have them, you know, on the slope?
Because of the lines in the coloring book. Like I want to see this pathway just a little more defined. You don't need edging on like both sides of this path for sure, but I want to see this a little flatter, little step down, little flatter, and then you can have those pretty wood stepping stones with the mulch around it, or maybe a ground cover around it.
Yeah.
And it'll just feel more safe and like I'm actually supposed to be walking here.
Yep. Yeah, and we started digging out and trying to build a path before and just stalled out on it again. From here up doesn't get any water in this area except for drip on the trees. So the grass you see now basically turns into dry grass by midsummer. And it is an area where I would like to have more yarrow and just more like fruit tree friendly undergrowth.
Love.
But I need to get some irrigation in here.
Okay.
It doesn't have any right now other than a few drips and frankly a hose that we've run in.
You've got drip to the trees, so it'll be really easy to just expand the drip, tying into that, just to have more drip going to the native perennials. And then because this doesn't get a ton of water, I think just doing the tree cookies in like a bark, where we don't need to irrigate the bark to just kind of be there. And that way you can have this be full. And I love it. Let's do yarrow, and you could do like purple prairie clover is a cover crop, but it's a native clover. And it's taller than like a little micro clover in your lawn.
Oh, good.
But it has pretty purple flowers. The bees are obsessed with it. And it's used as a cover crop because it fertilizes the soil. So you could do like yarrow and some native grasses and purple prairie clover. The color and the sound of that moving, some kind of edge on the downslope, and then the stepper path. Oh, I would love to see, and it can be stone. I also wouldn't even mind if it literally was just a piece of steel, because it looks real good when yarrow and grasses and clover and wild things come right up to a clean line. And you've got that really hard and soft.
I love that effect.
So if this ends up just being too much manual labor, steel edge like this thick, whoosh, all the color and texture on that side, bark and tree cookies on this side.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Insane. And I love this. Let's keep these.
What is this?
Love the berries. This would be a perfect place to like, we could continue this, and then you could kind of, because you've got this line that's coming from these stone things, this would be a perfect place to just kind of level this up a little bit and then have a cute little step down right here. And you could probably mirror this if you wanted, so that it's like, this is the stair. And then you've got the cute little edge. You don't have to though, because I kind of like what's growing there already. I love it. I love it.
It looks so crazy right now, and there's so many, like I can see weeds coming in where I'm like, that is not a good thing for the dog. I'm gonna have to go in and pull it out, and you know.
It's overwhelming for sure.
Crazy moments.
When we were talking about the shape of this lawn, this is a wonderful entrance into this area, so I think this is perfect exactly how it is. Let's just do something in here, just this area that isn't grass.
Like just expand this? Is that what you're thinking?
If you're cool with this edging kind of connecting in to over here, then all this grass can get ripped out and some compost and mulch can go down, and this can all get planted out, so this all just becomes a bed. And that way it doesn't feel like you have to maintain an island.
I like that.
Just really cuts down on maintenance. Another shrub in here would be a wild rose.
I've got,
Rosa woodsy.
I have one down there that we tried to dig up and it didn't work, and so now I've got like several small wild roses down there that I love, that I would, I'm trying to move throughout the yard.
Let's do it.
So that sounds great.
Just some wild roses in there, and then the mulch, tulips, daffodils, crocus, whatever, just packing it in here so that this doesn't feel like an island in the middle of your lawn, and it just feels part, you've already got a massive planter bed.
Yeah. Cool.
I love it.
I like that.
And then I think your lawn is great, honestly. Maybe one day when you're bored, I would shrink the lawn on that side so it just kind of terminates at the corner of the deck and have that be landscaping as well.
Yeah, this will be the next time I call you and say, okay, now I want to move on to the next part of the yard. Like
I don't hate this at all. I really don't even mind the grass. I think this looks like amazing yard. But just for a maintenance perspective, I would want the grass shape to end here so that you're mowing like kind of in a nice oval shape and not doing all these right angles. And you could get another great elderberry or something back here to just frame everything out.
Yeah.
And you would still have room to access the door and the basement and everything. That's what I got.
Cool.
Yeah.
More fruit so that we can make more jam.
Yes.
More fruit for more jam.